All right, hey everybody. It helps if you turn your camera on if you're going to live stream. So, welcome back for part 3 of upgrading a Laravel 5.8 application. This will probably be the final part that I do. We'll see how far I get. I mean, I might do another stream if we're really struggling today, but I think we're on the tail end of this, or at least to a place where it can be handed back to the client. So, where we left off last time was we had run all the shifts from 5.8 all the way to Laravel 11. There's some comments remaining that I want to go back and look at, and I will. But those comments are super straightforward. It's reviewing the code. They may or may not even have changes that are necessary. It's just now that we're on 11, I would want to make sure that I take a final look at those to see if they're still applicable, or things the client needed to look at, like changing of drivers and so forth. So we made it all the way to 11. We go to run the composer install, and of course it doesn't work. And we know that because we ran the can I upgrade Laravel tool, can I upgrade Laravel. We plugged in the dependencies from 5.8 here, and we saw that there were 3 or 4 abandoned packages. We also saw that Nova had a very old install from Nova 1. Nova 4 is now through Composer. So I did some of that off stream because who wants to watch me wade through Composer errors? And here's where we landed. Laravel Nova had to be bumped to 4. We knew that. And then this PayPal and this Tech House needed to, those were abandoned. Those were clearly marked as abandoned in the tool. We knew that those were going to need some work or an alternative drop-in replacement. Now, I talked to the client, and they actually aren't using this particular screen or action where we found that in the code. And of course, they are using the PayPal REST API, but there are alternatives that we can go find, and they're going to research which one they like the best. So that was pretty straightforward. The few that we didn't know about, they're not necessarily marked as abandoned, but if you were to go look at these, we can see that even back on 5.8, they had made their own copy of this repository and kind of patched it way back then. These haven't been updated in 7 years. This one has been updated recently, but it was incompatible with the version of Fly system that Laravel 11 now requires. So unfortunately, these are abandoned. They're not marked as abandoned. I really hate when packages don't come back and kind of mark them as abandoned. That might be something I do on the Can I Upgrade tool, where it's like question mark or something, and it's like no updates in 6 years or something. Because again, everybody makes. I have packages. I totally understand. I live in the real world. Like, I have a couple packages that I probably have out there that I haven't updated, and they're not compatible, but I don't necessarily mark them as abandoned. So I get it. Time is valuable, but it's just unfortunate. It's hard for the tool to know until you get into Composer that these are, even though they're not technically marked as abandoned or officially marked as abandoned, they clearly are incompatible with Laravel 11. So had to pull those out as well. Again, all of these packages are used in 1 or 2 places. The major concern is PayPal, and again, the client was looking at that. So once I dropped these out, just 4 or 5 packages, and again, for the number of packages that they had, 50 packages, a lot of private ones as well, having less than 10% of them be an issue really isn't that bad, coming several versions, and again, the number of packages that were here. So cool. Anyway, hey Samuel, how's it going? Hey Yves. Thanks for joining again. So now that Composer is running, we're in a place where when I run, artisan commands, I'm getting some errors. And this is the part I want to focus on today. Again, we are not necessarily done with the upgrade. From a Laravel framework code perspective, things should be in a pretty good place. But there may be customizations that they have within their app that needs some tweaking. So that's where we are now. My goal in this stream is to get artisan running. If Artisan is running, then then we have Composer install, all packages are compatible, and the application, at least from a framework perspective, boots up, right? If Artisan can run, then the framework itself can boot, and I can hopefully run commands like route list or, Artisan commands within the application. And again, that's a pretty good indicator that things are on the right track. Does it mean, again, everywhere in the application is perfect? No. But without an automated test suite or anything in that nature, I typically, as the consultant that's been hired to upgrade the application, that's where I kind of pause, I save my hours, and I pass it back to the client to maybe start doing some manual review, set things up locally, let me know, with errors or screenshots or whatever, how much is broken, and we can assess. Do I want to take time to set up the project locally, or do we just want to jump on a pairing call and get through these quick errors? Because again, often they're very straightforward errors that any Laravel developer is going to get that, old school error page and be able to say, oh, yeah, this is a type hint, or oh, yeah, I got to set this new driver. So hopefully the errors become straightforward once Artisan is running. That's kind of the point. So app user preference, update quietly. Looks like there's a little bit of overzealous type hinting that maybe is happening here. So let's go clean that up. They've overridden an update quietly method. So let's just tweak that. So Laravel says that it's an array of options. So this is now that. So the red squigglies go away now. So it wasn't a type hint, it was actually a change in the underlying method. This may have been noted in one of those comments. I vaguely remember that. I'm not sure though, so we'll check it out. Anyway, let's see if there's anywhere else that uses update quietly in our app, just to avoid multiple issues. I don't know why PHP Storm is not finding. Okay, good. Just user preference. Okay, so on to the next error. PHP Artisan package discover. Okay, cool. Call to undefined method Laravel passport routes. Okay, that's an app service provider, and this is something we collapsed ourselves. So maybe this is just not imported, or maybe passport routes isn't real anymore. Is it the wrong facade? Let's go look. I'm not that familiar with Passport, and I think I chatted with the client about this to kind of understand how they're using Passport. Passport's kind of like all but dead in my opinion. I feel like with like Sanctum and all these other things, like it's surprising if you still need full-on Passport. Again, it's not abandoned. It's definitely a usable thing, but I think for most use cases, the point is that you can probably, and they even say it themselves, Passport or Sanctum, you can probably get away with just using Sanctum. But for now, let's get in here, and we already got that. We might need to boot the keys. Okay, Passport load keys from, okay, cool. Maybe they don't do this routes thing anymore. Let's find out if it says anything in here. So routes. All right, passport routes have been moved to a dedicated route file. You can remove the passport routes call from your application service provider. Okay, fair enough. Let's do that. So let's just drop this, which means we can also drop this. All right, next. Okay, declaration of NVMTM, Nova custom views command run command must be compatible. Okay. Where is this? Vendor digital cloud. A couple of these digital cloud things, they were actually abandoned. I'm a little worried that this probably hasn't been updated in a very long time. 6 years ago. Has Nova been out 6 years? Holy cow. Time flies. Crap. Are they using this? Let's see how many places they're using this in the code. This might just unfortunately be yet another abandoned package. Okay, they boot it. Custom views service provider. They boot it, but they're never doing anything with it, it looks like. Let me see here. How's this used? You require it, you load it, create a new view. This is the same process for any other Nova tool. This will create a view component in your Nova components views. Oh, okay. Is it just like a... This package allows you to create customizable views specific to Nova resources. Is this just like a generator tool? What is this? I feel like this is just a generator tool, and it's clearly not hard required. So let's unboot it. It installs, so it's not necessarily incompatible, but clearly we would have to tweak its command to be compatible with modern Nova. So let's keep going. I'm going to drop it out of the boot frame. Oh, hey, look, boom, we booted. So look at that, like 4 errors to go through, 2 of which kind of dealt with package incompatibilities, which, you know, if I had followed the upgrade guide, I would have noted that. So really just one method in the whole application needed to be modified. Shift basically got everything else as far as the framework is concerned to be able to run, and look at all these packages, oh my gosh, be able to run artisan. So let's, while we're in here, let's just look at this real quick. Let's do this, git add -p. Okay, so we removed passport routes. We updated this method signature for for Laravel. We got rid of this Nova custom views helper package, maybe. I don't think it's needed. To that point, I'm going to do a composer remove on it here in just a second. But I'll call that out separately, I think. So let's do git commit -m. Compatibility. This is kind of a whip in a way. This is like a whip. Compatibility issues. All right. Let's do some more. Or sorry, let's get into Composer and get rid of this. So let's do Composer, remove that. I'll append that here in a second. Oh. Could not scan for classes inside vendor digital, which doesn't appear to be a file. Okay, what's this about? Class map generator. Why do I care about that? Could not scan for classes inside. Shouldn't it? Is this like a no scripts thing? I don't understand that. It's looking in here for stuff. Oh, do they have like a custom? Is this thing referenced like in their scripts? No? Where is this referenced? Dev? Huh. That's interesting. I'm not gonna worry about that too much. I think that'll get resolved here in a minute. Let's drop that out. Let's add that. I'm gonna get append this. Are we still in a place where I can run artisan? Yes, we are. Okay. The next big one, okay, in the absence of tests, and I've talked about this before, the next big thing is I like to run route list. I fully expect this to explode. It does. Not only because, of course, this PayPal package, which we knew is incompatible, but this is a nice way in the absence of test, again, to kind of boot the framework, to boot a lot of pieces of the framework. When you run route list, it goes through all of your registered routes, and it actually creates that controller. It calls new controller name, you know, so it boots up that class itself. So if you have dependency issues, incorrect controller names, things aren't mapped right, things got moved to the wrong place, any of that kind of stuff, again, a quick and dirty way to kind of quote-unquote test or smoke test the application to see what else might explode is to not only run Artisan's now running, but to run something, a command like route list, because it touches so much of the application from just a single command. Now, of course, this is going to be a bit of a problem because this PayPal controller, it's going to reference this PayPal stuff. It looks like it dependency injects it, I guess. Yeah, it pulls config, it makes a new one. So here's what I'm going to do. The application seems to be in a very, very close place. So what I'm going to try to do is, we know that we've stripped out a couple packages, right? All these packages that were listed here are gone. So if I start running into a lot of errors that relate to the packages that I removed, in a way that's a little bit of a good sign, because I haven't completed the upgrade. Especially in ripping out these packages, I'm going to have to find an alternative or determine from the client if that's dead code or not. Again, I don't want to spend time fixing the PayPal controller class if the client says, oh, we don't even use PayPal anymore. That happens, right? It's a large code base. It's clearly been around since 5.8. This could be dead code. So the point is that I'm going to comment this out for now. My goal is to just try to get route list running. If I start commenting out 7, 8, 9, 10 things, I'm going to quit. But if maybe it just takes commenting out 2 things and route list runs. So I'm just trying to get a feel for how close I am. I know I still have work to do in the third-party packages that need to be upgraded, but just like Passport, they hopefully have their own upgrade guide that's very straightforward for me to go and take a look at. But again, the client may, in the case of Passport, the client may want to switch to Sanctum, right? So again, I don't want to spend too much time fixing this. I really just want to prove that the application can run Laravel 11 from a Composer and Artisan perspective. Composer's checkbox, Artisan's checkbox. I'm just going to try to go a little bit deeper and see how far I can get with route list. Look at that. See? One section commented out. I didn't know it was going to happen that way, but one section commented out, route list runs. This is great. There's no legacy things inside of controllers or crazy dependency injection that's happening other than this one controller where I needed to do anything. So again, this is a really, really good sign. So I'm going to go ahead and add this commented out for now, because again, I want to give this to the client in a place where theoretically they could run the application and at least see some of these other sections. So I'm just going to add that. I'm going to do get pinned. Okay, so these are all compatibility issues. I'm going to go ahead and run Pint. Which version am I on? Yeah, let's go ahead and run Pint. Just make sure I didn't introduce anything odd. Looks like I have a couple small things here. So let's do a get add-u, get commit-m, apply Laravel code style, get push. Okay, this is actually going better than I expected. Here's what I would do next. I think next, because the application appears to be in a pretty decent place, and Artisan and Composer and route list and these types of things are running, I think what I would try to do is probably run something like the Laravel fixer or anything else to help modernize the application. So an example of that we could actually go ahead and run is I noticed that the models are still all top level, and Shift has a namespace models shift. So I think it's worthwhile, again, kind of for the stream, to just keep getting things modernized, keep using some of the automation. I wouldn't do this if the application was kind of really broken, if I couldn't run Composer, if I couldn't run Artisan. I would wait on those things. Again, at this point, I'm trying to minimize the breakages. I don't want to break more things. But given that the application appears, from what I can tell, from a code perspective, to be in a pretty decent place, I'm going to keep doing more updates, right? And I think this is a modernization that's probably worth it. So let's get on with that. So let's get open. I'm going to have to go ahead and merge this, I think. So let's jump in here. There's the Laravel 11 shift. I'm going to tentatively merge this. Again, we have some whips here. That's just the way I work. That's another grep I can do to the logs to see, oh, do I have any whips? Do I have any default files still? I would go back and readdress those, right? I know that I'm not done with that. So those are just, commented out code and dropping packages. That's a whip. There's more work to do there, right? In the meantime, though, let's go back out to Laravel. Let's run a shift. I think we're on the goal now, again, of we want this to be as upgraded as possible. And since we are in actually a pretty good place, in my opinion, I think it's worthwhile to kind of keep trying to run a couple more shifts to get this really, really modernized. So let's go ahead and run the namespace model shift. Let's borrow, that's not the right, that's not the right thing, but it's kind of close. We'll say Laravel upgrade is the branch we want. Run and review, it's free, so here we go. Now again, this takes a minute, it's a large application, it downloads you know, some code, runs Pint, all that kind of stuff. So let's give that a second. While that's queuing, there was something else I wanted to check. Yeah, we do need to check out PHP unit. There was, oh yeah, here we go. I have a command that I run. PHP, that's not it, PHP-L, there we go. Shift would note this, but just in the background, while we're waiting on that shift to run, this is just a single one-liner command that basically finds all PHP files and runs them through PHP lint. This is just a really quick way, again, in the absence of CI or test, to see if there's any kind of like syntax errors or PHP issues, deprecations, things of that nature that could show up here. So there's a lot of files. This is going to take a second, but while we're kind of waiting for other things, okay, so we don't have any syntax errors. Cool. One more thing I want to do in PHP Storm, and again, this one's probably going to send my application or my PHP Storm humming, but they have a lot of inspections inside of PHP Storm. It's one of the things I like about the tool, is I can run this undefined class inspection. And given the size of this project, I'm expecting a large number of undefined classes. Now, hopefully what a lot of these are, we'll look at them here in a second, hopefully what a lot of these are global facade references. And if so, I have the fixer will fix those, the Laravel fixer shift will take care of a majority of those. I also expect a lot of these to probably be that PayPal class, or some of the classes from the packages that we removed. So that's what we're hoping to see here. I'm expecting a lot, but I'm hoping that they either relate to just global references, which we can fix, or to the packages that we know we removed. So let's see what we have. So Swift, that makes sense. I do know Laravel upgraded Swift mailer. That's one of those comments on the Laravel 9 shift. Request here is a good example of a missing bit. So let's go ahead and fix that. So this is illuminate HTTP request. Socialite, again, global facade here, no big deal. We can clean that up. Class info, again, bad reference here. So this is probably app/class info. Yes, it is. So I'm going to leave this off though, because that's actually a model, and maybe if we're lucky, our namespace model will take care of that. DB is a facade, PDF's a facade, amount. These are the PayPal ones. That makes sense. So there's a lot of PayPal ones in here. We're going to skip those. Some SPASI stuff. So again, relating to packages that may need upgrade. I know from doing this a lot, SPASI's image and media library have a lot of changes over versions, especially if you're coming from way back in Laravel 5.8. So that makes sense. More DB, more mail, more facades. Here's that tech house. We know that's a removed package. So this is looking like what I expect. This multilingual is probably, yeah, that digital cloud multilingual. This EBS, all that makes sense. So this is actually really making sense. So even though there's 600 of these, if I ran it through the fixer and I got rid of those facades, and then I was able to find a drop-in PayPal replacement, I bet you I could probably get that number down to under 100. And those are probably legitimate things I would need to review. So seems like a lot, but again, other ways in which I test and kind of see what's the state of the application from a very static way. It takes time to set up the project, right? I got to get a copy of the database. They may have services, Redis, Postgres, these things, you know, in absence of a Docker image that they can provide. It's going to take a bit of time to set this up. Running that took, 2 minutes, and reviewing it, needs to happen. So I would challenge that a lot of people, if you ran that, you're going to find more than you think. I bet you that inspection does not run clean for many projects. I know a couple of my projects that it doesn't run clean for. And the goal isn't to get it like totally clean, by the way. It's just another tool that I use to kind of gauge where we are in finalizing the upgrade. Again, all the shifts have been run, but are we done yet? Okay, we are still running. That is amazing. Is that real? Yeah, I guess it is real. All right, let's see what people said in the chat. Old abandoned packages and without PR, yeah, they are the worst. You're right. Hey Gusa, how's it going? Thanks for joining live. All right, let's give this another minute. I think some of these other ones took, 4, 5, 6 minutes. So I'm gonna give that just a few more minutes. And then I can always log into the server and see what's going on. So the goal here is that the models will all get put back into place. And if so, I can go ahead and merge that, and I might go ahead and run the fixer to get a jump start on some of those invalid references. And at that point, theoretically, the project is in a place where we really just need to focus on third-party packages and kind of seeing what's broken, right? The third-party package thing, that's gonna, that matters in an upgrade with or without shift. So again, I'm not gonna focus on that. There are a lot of other tools out there. Hopefully packages have their own upgrade guide. Laravel does. I know Spassy does. A lot of the packages that we see here that are an issue have an upgrade guide. And again, some of that is chatting with the client. And then finally, finding the errors. I don't know this application. I don't know all of its features, right? I don't know what that PayPal controller is meant to do, if it's used, any of those things. So again, as a consultant, I don't want to spend too much time on those areas, burn the client's hours, burn the client's money, if they come back quickly and say, oh yeah, we don't use that part of the application. Well, hey, guess what? That was 150 of the instances and some of the commented out code that we did in the whip. So for those reasons, this is where, provided I get the rest of this running correctly, this is where I would actually just go ahead and hand it back to the client. Now, of course, if you're the developer, if you are the client for yourself and you're upgrading, well, you can answer some of these questions and just go ahead and start diving in. But that's what I would do next. I would try to get the application running, hopefully see some error pages, and start resolving those. And again, I think any Laravel developer can do that, so I'm not necessarily going to focus on those pieces. All right, good. I blabbered on enough for this to run. Okay, so 715 changes. This is a pretty dense PR, which is again why I might have waited for this. But what is a little bit reassuring is that these numbers exactly match, and that makes sense for this kind of shift. All that really should be happening is it's moving the files from one place to another and updating their references. So if those numbers mismatched for some reason, I would actually be a little bit concerned for this particular shift. And just to give you an idea, if you're not familiar with this shift, here's what we're talking about. We basically create app models, which was reintroduced in Laravel, and then it goes through and finds anywhere you were referencing one of those classes and injects models. So again, the replacements should be one for one, right? Anywhere it said app user, it should now say app models user. Anywhere it said app models, competition content or course content, it should swap that. So it's fixing all of those paths everywhere in this whole thing. Huge diff. I'm not going to try to go through that. What I am going to do is just go ahead and merge this, pull it down, and then I'm going to rerun that class inspection. And theoretically, we shouldn't have more than that 578, right? So if we look at problems, 578, we should see the same number when I go and hit rerun on this in just a second. So let's test this. And then I will try to run the fixer. I don't know if I'll do that in the live stream though. Let me go ahead and, what did I do here? Oh, I fixed that import. Let's just that. Git checkout Laravel upgrade. We need to merge this, is what we said. I don't think I'll run the fixer live. I've done that on other streams. Given the amount of time it's taking for these to run in the background, I don't think that's worth it. So let's finish the stream by merging this. We've modernized the app models namespace. Again, the whole point here is upgrading the app, making it feel modern, making it feel conventional. There's some small things we can do to do that now that we feel like, the application is in a place where we could receive an error page, right? It's not done, but it's in a place where we could receive an error page. So let's get pull this. We got all those app models rewritten here, so that makes sense. App models. So we got the latest changes. We go back to problems, and we should be able to rerun this inspection once the index is done scanning. So it actually, if it just refreshed itself, it's actually saying 570 now instead of 578. So we saw where some of those model references were incorrect before. That shift may have fixed those, which is why I didn't want to do it ourselves. Let's see though, I could be wrong about that. 578, perfect. Exact same number, that makes sense. We didn't introduce any new issues, so now it would be a matter of me kind of going through these. But I would run the fixer first to kind of get these, get this number a little more manageable. I think running the fixer would probably get this down, cut in half probably is what I would think. Again, that fixer, based on the number of these shifts running in the background, or the time it takes for these shifts to run in the background, I don't think that that's worth it to do live. But let me see. I might have. I have a local script. I might be able to run. php ... shift ... scripts globals, I think it's called. I think you pass it that. I don't remember. I normally look it up in my history. I don't remember the input and output of this, but let's just try. This basically runs that specific task within the fixer to rename Laravel's global aliases. So we're in a clean state. I'll give this 30 seconds to run. We'll see what happens. I'm just trying to see if I can get that number to what I believe it would be if we got rid of those global facade aliases. I might have passed this the wrong arguments though, so let's see. Okay, so GST. All right, let's just do a git diff -w. Yeah, okay, good. This is the script. So there we go, cool. Let's go back and let's rerun this and see if that's a lot less, theoretically. Okay, so not half, but we got rid of almost 200 areas where those global aliases were just throwing off PHP Storm. Now, if you're used like a PHP IDE or a .ide, what is that, the Laravel IDE or Laravel IDEA or whatever, if you have some of those plugins for PHP Storm, it probably would not have complained about those. But I like being explicit instead of using, /log. That's just, in modern Laravel, you get much better completion out of the box anyway, so kind of using these global ones just, I don't think is worth it. But anyway, the point is that we reduced this. So to wrap everything up, what I would do next is I would, make sure Artisan's still running. Looks like we have some issues that we introduced now. So again, based on, these global changes, these reference changes, I would probably just make sure everything's still running the way I want. So here I've introduced some errors by renaming the global facades and importing them. There's some collisions now in my imports. So just go back and fix these, make sure Artisan's running, make sure route list is running, and I would then hand it back to the client and say, hey, here's where things are. We're not done, but here's the 4 or 5 packages I removed. Let me know if you're still using these, sections of your application, and then based on that, let's, try to run the application, understanding those particular pieces might be broken. Try running the application, see if you can give me an error page, and we'll kind of go from there. That's what I would do next. So I'm going to fix these errors. I don't think this takes a lot of, this doesn't take a lot of skill to just go remove these where I introduced a duplicate import. So I'll go fix these. I'll make sure Artisan's running. And again, now it's in a place to go back to the client. So within, I haven't done a lot of work other than Composer install in the background. So within 4 hours, I would say, we've run the shifts. We've gotten the application in a place where it seems to be compatible with Laravel 11. It's been modernized from a code perspective. We've put the models in the right spot. We've slimmed the application. it's running Laravel 11, right? Anything that's remaining is really a matter of fixing or refactoring features within our application to be more Laravel 11-esque, right? So still more work to do. I would say there's probably double the amount of time left to still do, but we are running Laravel 11 from a composer perspective, from an artisan perspective, and from a modern conventions perspective, right? And that's kind of the beauty of Shift. That's also how I kind of tackle these. Hopefully the tips and tricks and process is helpful to see. If clients allow me, I will keep kind of doing these streams in the future as people come along to upgrade their apps, because there's lots of Laravel apps out there and a lot of them are not running the latest version. So, which is now 11, by the way. 10 is no longer receiving new features or bug fixes. I think it gets security patches for a couple more months, but hey, get upgrading, right? All right, I'll see y'all next time.